Call the meeting to order. Join me in the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Bryan Board of Public Affairs meeting for February 15th, 2022. First on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the February 1st, 2022 meeting. Board members, you've been supplied with a copy of the minutes from that meeting. Are there any additions or corrections? If not,
Seeing none, Jim, I'd like to make a motion we approve the February 1st minutes as read.
I second it.
Dick?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Jim?
yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Next is a hearing of public concerns. Is there anyone present that's not on the agenda would like to address the board? Seeing none. Next is the clerk treasurer's report.
The board is presented with the clerk treasurer's report for the month ending January 31st, 2022.
Can I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion that we approve the January 31st clerk treasurer's report.
I'll second.
Karen?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Next is a resolution. Lori, will you number read, please?
Resolution number 9, 2022, authorizing the Bryan Director of Utilities to enter into an agreement with American Municipal Power Incorporated for key accounts services.
We have been taking advantage of a program from AMP that's called Direct Connections, and they're requesting we kind of enter into a new or basically an updated agreement with them, which expands the options and benefits of this program. This proposed agreement would replace and update the existing agreement that the BPA approved back in February 4th, 2020 with resolution number 8, 2020. This agreement would, for one, update the name of the program from Direct Connections to Key Accounts Plus, so they had a name change, and one of the reasons for this is getting that name change. This new proposed agreement would give greater detail on the services they offer, such as our selection, and they give you multiple selections, but we selected the one basically for, which there's an annual fee involved of $3,600 and a discounted hourly rate of $80 an hour. That annual rate includes 30 free hours per year for AMP labor at no cost. And so we typically don't even use those full 30 hours up anyway. So, but additional cost would be at $80 an hour, which is a discounted rate for them. What Key Accounts is they focus on our larger electric customers, including commercial and industrial. The program provides added value, energy-related education, tools, technical services, and the potential funding opportunities for these larger customers that we have. Basically, they operate as an extension of our utility, allowing us to provide technical services designed to develop and enhance our relationship with the large power customers, or large customers, key accounts, kind of the same thing, our largest, biggest customers. So AMP has plenty of qualified personnel who provide support, including information, education, guidance, and technical service. I've had multiple calls from some of these people that want to know how they could save on their electric bill, and they can do these low to no cost walkthroughs of their factory. A lot of times it's LEDs, or it's when they start up, and just different things that they allow. And I know you remember this from the last resolution. So basically, this is just a name change for one. To update that, and it more specifically spells out the services they offer. And I've used them a few times. They're a good extension of us to be able to offer this technical service to them. So I'm basically asking to update this agreement with Key Accounts Plus.
Questions, comments?
There are a lot of knowledgeable people there, so it's a good opportunity to take advantage of that knowledge and see what it can do to benefit our customers.
Yep. Everybody.
We've been involved with Direct Connections for a while now, and there's a lot of educational stuff that I have taken advantage of. think some of us here. Make a motion, we adopt resolution 9.
I'll second.
Dick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Next on the agenda is another resolution. Laura, will you number review, please?
Resolution number 10, 2022, authorizing the Director of Utilities to advertise for bids for the project known as Power Plant Substation Phase 1 Major Equipment.
This is a project, you've been following our whole progression of this project in itself. So on March 16, 2021, the board approved Resolution 14 to have Spectrum Engineering provide services for the engineering, bidding, and construction oversight of Phase 1 of the power plant substation equipment and construction project. This project is designed to upgrade Bryan Municipal Utilities' outdated 34.5 kV line to the 69. This is all part of that conversion process and getting rid of the 34.5. The power plant is our only and last customer on that line. I don't like calling them a customer, but basically we need some of this work done to be able to get rid of that 34.5 so we can take our generation and power it through our 69 up into our loop. So they're one of the few remaining that we have to do a little. And this is a project we've talked about that our crews are going to do a lot of work. Material costs are going up. So we want to get this out there as fast as we can before materials go too fast. We're kind of moving ahead. We have structures, and this bid will be broken down into 4 segments. And I think we budgeted for $742,000 would be the structures. It's similar to what we did with our other substation, Industrial Drive. We're going to buy the structures, the breakers, what else we got there? Major equipment, which we're looping into it.
Yeah, some of the switchgear that goes into the
Switchgear,
powerhouse and the conduit and things like that go along with all that stuff.
Yep.
But prices have went up 15 or 20% just in the last 6 months.
So we want to get this out there, get these things at least in line to get purchased, and hopefully the lead times and just kind of stay ahead of this project. Our crews will do a lot of the construction part, not like, industrial part. We're going to sit there and electric and water, and everybody's going to work on this together. But this is giving us the permission to go out for these material bids for those 4 items.
Are we going to be able to use the same transformers, Jim, that,
Only one of them.
or just one?
The one that took to GT1, the Westinghouse, which is the large one, it can be tapped up, and so it will be. But that's just in Phase 1. In Phase 2, we'll actually have to change the transformer for the Norberg and the GE.
Right.
And that powers the rest of the power plant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're using some of the stuff there at the substation as far as the building goes, extending the fencing around it, some of the stuff that's existing there, right? We're going to reuse some of that
Yeah,
stuff.
in order to be frugal, we're going to use the exact powerhouse and put the switchgear and breaker controls inside what it is right now. Use a barred air conditioner heater for it. The battery system's going to go in there, and it'll all fit. And then our crews are going to do the work as we have time and get through it all as equipment comes in with lead times.
Sounds good. More question? Can we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Dick?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
So on the agenda is another resolution. Laura, will you number read, please?
Resolution number 11, 2022, a resolution designating Bryan Municipal Utilities Operations Manager as the prevailing wage coordinator for Bryan Municipal Utilities according to Ohio Revised Code 4115.071.
Yeah, pretty much as Lori stated, Ohio Revised Code basically indicates that each contracting public authority that enters into contracts with contractors or contract owners shall designate and appoint one of its own employees to serve as the prevailing wage coordinator during the life of the contract. So before, it used to be, we had this rolled into our engineering supervisor position. So we've talked, and we're going to have requesting the operations manager act as the prevailing wage coordinator. And he'd take responsibility for assuring compliance as it relates to public works and contracts that entered into on behalf of Bryan Municipal Utilities. So we're requesting to change that to the operations manager.
Do we need a motion for that?
Yeah, it's a resolution.
That's right. Can I have a motion to approve?
I'd like to make a motion that we name the assistant director as the prevailing wage coordinator.
I'll second.
Karen?
Sorry, that's the operations manager. Can I correct that now? It comes out
Just
in
say
minutes. I was going to, I was looking right at
Want to do
it.
right there?
Have fun with that position. It's not that hard.
Karen?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Tom?
You get 4 more hats. AMP has an award, like a seven hat award.
Seven
Yeah,
hat, you
there
need
you
a
go.
couple more.
Right.
Just delegate somewhere where, you know?
Next is a presentation of the 2021 year in review electric utility.
Okay, we're gonna start out with the financials, and then I think we'll move to Al, and then Jim will talk about power production. We kind of broke these up, you know, a little bit. I mean, you can see that this is pretty thick, but we broke this up to just start with the electric, and then the next meeting we'll probably get into the water. We just didn't want to have people here all night, so. So I'll start out with the financial part of it. We'll talk about power supply a little bit first. Bryan's 2021 energy sources are shown on the slide. A lot of you have seen something similar to this. I look at it as our power portfolio. It's how we diversify our power purchases, where we get our power from. So by being a member of AMP and having a seat on the board of trustees, we're able to have a greater involvement in our projects. And you can see we're fortunate enough, this also includes our own hydro, solar, and power plant on this as well. Bryan has used over 186,000 megawatt hours of energy in 2021. This is a 2.8% increase over the previous year, but it kind of falls short of our 3.7 forecast that they had. We're proud of the fact that over 30% of our energy is from renewable sources. And as you can see, like 3 of those renewable sources are being used renewable sources. AMP hydro projects along the Ohio River did extremely well this past year, which contributed to a decrease in the rate of about 50 cents a megawatt hour. Transmission, not surprisingly, was up 19% more than expected, which has resulted in an increase of $2 per megawatt hour. Prairie State, which is a clean coal facility over in Illinois, they also had a record production and saw higher congestion costs, which is related to the transmission, resulting in a 75-cent per megawatt hour increase. The sale of the JV5 RECs in December contributed to a decrease of about 50 cents per megawatt hour. Transmission and capacity savings for 2021 was over $4.3 million. That's money we would have had to spend without the value of our generation and the cooperation of all of our customers to meet peaks and help shed load when they're called upon. So we appreciate everybody that does their part for that. That's a significant savings right there, 4.3. I think this next year, Jim will probably talk about some of that. I think we're 4.5 for this year. So doing really well there, and we appreciate everybody's efforts to help with that. Some changes in our energy resources include the Morgan Stanley. It ended on the last day of December 2020. The EDI landfill ended last year at the end of 2021. And the Blue Creek Wind Farm is due to come off at the end of this year. So these projects that are coming off, you can see some of the costs are a little bit higher. So we're able to actually save money because we can now then buy from the BP remaining requirements up there at $37 per megawatt hour. So although we're losing our, which we'll find other projects to get into, but it's actually a cost savings for us because the BP remaining that we can purchase this power from is at 37 megawatts, which is a little bit cheaper than the 40, 50 some dollar megawatt that we've been getting with these others. So a little bit of cost savings. This graph reflects bid used power supply costs for the last 16 years, going all the way back to 2005. It reflects the cost of purchase power, but with that, along with all of our operation and maintenance expenses for the Bryan power plant, bog glaze, hydro plant, as well as our solar field. As you can see, overall, the costs have been fairly stable, all the way back through the years. Deregulation in 2006, you can see a couple of these dips and reasons why, but overall, it's not bad for that many years to still be at $62, so that's not too bad at all. This chart represents how our electric operation and maintenance costs are broken down. As you can see, almost 79% of our expenses are from the power supply costs from the power that we purchase. Basically, our electric bill that we have. So over $13 million. The rest, about 13%, is to our distribution system. 2% of that is for our billing and accounting, and just over 6% are related to customer service and administration fees. Okay, now we'll get into more of our electric financials, starting with our fund balances. We began the year with the 501 with a beginning balance of just over $11 million. We had revenues budgeted at just over $19 million, and we came in at $19.7 million. Our expenses were budgeted about $18.8 million. We came in almost $17.6 million, giving us a net margin of about $2.1 million. We hadn't anticipated $900,000 transfer to our 515 capital reserve fund, but we ended up transferring almost $1 million due to change orders from an increase in our GT control project. I believe it was due to the spare parts and the change orders that we had through that. So this gave us an ending 501 balance of just over $12 million, which is an increase of almost $1 million. The 515, the capital reserve fund, it started the year with a $2.4 million. As I stated before, we had anticipated $900,000 transfer, but ended up transferring almost $2 million. Part of that is due to the AMI loan proceeds that was deposited. It was just over $1 million. So we had budgeted almost $2.9 million, and we ended up spending a little over $2.3 million, giving us a negative margin of negative around $289,000. So this gave us an ending balance of about $2.1 million with an ending fund balance of a negative $289,000. But our combined 501 to 515 electric department fund balance began the year with over $13.5 million, and we ended with just over $14.3 million. So resulting in an increase of just about $791,000 for the year. This chart is our total cash comparison, so just like the number I just spoke of there regarding the ending combined fund balance in 2021 with just over 14.3, you can see here we're doing better than 2020, but still not back to pre-pandemic levels. Here's our annual electric sales by class. Here's the industrial, commercial, and residential. And you can see that our sales have increased ever so slightly. Again, not quite back to pre-pandemic, but we are getting closer. If you kind of look at those, we're not too far off. And kind of where we anticipated to be. We set our budget to be better than the pandemic year of 2021. And that's exactly kind of where we came in last year. So I think we did a great job of predicting where we were with the revenues coming in. So we weren't too aggressive, and it's about where we were. It's a lot of unknowns. Again, this is the electric department's with the kilowatt hour share by class. I think this is interesting because it shows how much of our power usage by each class. Notice that 56%, that dark blue up there, is the usage from our large power customers. Almost 70% is used by our large power customers and the commercial customers combined. So this was kind of a major factor of why we were impacted so much during the 2020 pandemic with the shutdowns and closings. That's a substantial amount of our power. This is a kilowatt usage by year, so we kind of looked at that. This chart just reinforces what we've been discussing. You can see in recent years our total kilowatt hour usage has decreased and clearly shows the dip that we saw in 2020. Again, we have some recovery in usage, just not back where we were or where we want to be. So this is, a lot of you see these in your board packets over time, but this is the electric sales by month over the past few years. We kind of put these together for you. So it's kind of showing the pre-pandemic, the pandemic, and the post-pandemic. And if you look, it's noticeable depression of that red line. It's representing the 2020, especially in the months of March, April, and May. And the blue line above it represents our 2021, which is clearly better than we did in 2020. But we're still lagging 2029. But we also have to keep in mind that weather conditions certainly impact these revenues. During heating and cooling, our revenues kind of, so that's why we have the same pattern there. But clearly you can see the effect on our revenues. And you can see during the summer months of June, July, August, because of the cooling season, it does spike. But still, we still have a ways to go to get caught back up there. So we'll talk a little bit about our financial plan. In 2021, we finalized our cost of service study that was completed by Salsbury and Associates. This was the start of our multi-year plan, which began in November of 2021. We started issuing purchase orders quarterly instead of yearly. This allows us to monitor more closely as far as where we are in the budget. Instead of just doing a blanket purchase order for the year, now we can watch quarterly to see where we are and how we're doing. And it's a lot easier to kind of follow exactly where we are in our budget and how we're doing. So, also, we will continue to make use of our skilled workforce to save in costs over the year, just like we talked about with this capital plan project. We're going to be using our crews and their skill sets to help offset some of these, going out and having, some of the construction that we can do ourselves. We're going to try to get back to some of that and use that as a cost savings, which it does. We have a great workforce and we want to take advantage of it. So lastly, I want to talk a little bit about the Good Neighbors Utility Fund. This is kind of a summary. This represents the total dollars of the donations we received over the years, all the way back from 2005. It's kind of a nice to see, this Good Neighbors Fund and how it has progressed over the years. So, I'm sure you can see there in 2020, there was a big spike over $13,000, which surpassed, every prior year. So this proves the compassion of our community in a time of need. It was just impressive to see. And great to see our community come together about that. This slide just basically shows, the number of families we've assisted over the years. In 2021, we were able to help 35 families compared to last year, the prior year, 2020, we were able to help 50 families. So I'd like to thank all of those that have donated to this fund to help those in need. And just lastly, I did see there was an article in today's Bryan Times article of NOCAC, which is the Northwestern Ohio Community Action Commission, with information to assist local residents with help on their heating costs. So I encourage anybody, it's that time that once that money runs out, we can start dipping into our Good Neighbors Fund again. So I just want those people to feel free to reach out for the assistance that they need. And they can contact online. They can go to www.nocac.org to find out where to get some assistance for some of their high heating bills if they have them. So that's all I have for the financials. So I think we can maybe unless somebody has any questions, we'll move along to Al, and he can talk about the electric distribution.
Nate, just
Yeah.
a comment. On this one slide for kilowatt hour usage by year, wouldn't it stand to reason that we entered this agreement with AMP for key account services that would go into large power customers and help to reduce their load, and also with energy efficient appliances and LED bulbs and all those things? Wouldn't we expect that kilowatt hour usage to go down a little bit every year?
Yeah, if you help your commercial customers, industrial customers to help save energy, for one, that's good. I know it's counterintuitive for and I always say this because it's kind of funny, but we're in a business to sell electric and water, and we're always pushing not to use as much of our product. We want people to be conservative, which seems odd, but the way power works, sometimes the less you use, the more you pay, or you know what I mean, as far as it's so if we use less, like we did in the pandemic, we almost paid more for it, so the more we use. So it's counterintuitive, but it's what we want. We want our businesses to succeed, and it's just the way the system works with it, that we always push LED lighting, the way they start up. And most of it's kind of how they hit our peaks too. If they're peaking and starting and they're spiking our energy, we're built upon that. So if we can get them to find better ways to use their power and in a more even way than these harsh startups, instead of hitting that peak load that they're hitting, that benefits us as far as our costs too. So all those things together, overall, is best for us as a utility as far as that goes. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not. Teaching them how to use it, maybe when their startups are, that their shifts, so they're not starting up during the peaks, would lower their cost and make our costs cheaper too. So all of those things, if we could educate them on how that's done in the process that they use, it comes back to benefit us. Anybody else have any questions? All right. Al, you want to talk about the distribution transmission lines?
Talk here about the transmission and distribution projects, capital projects that we've completed in 2021. These projects are in a specific order than what they've probably been taken off of my schedule every year. So I take these and I go down through my schedule and I just write projects that I feel that are worth talking about. So no particular order, no particular reasoning behind how I have it laid out. First project, we rebuilt a pole line on E25. So I had some shell-rotted poles. I think there was about 6 or 7 poles we replaced, and the hardware there. We kept the wire, replaced that. The next project, of course, was with the industrial park feeders. This is with our new industrial park substation. We had 5 new feeders coming out of that sub, well, 4 and then a future feeder. When we set up our feeders out of the industrial park sub, we wanted to keep them in line of how we identified the circuits out of Daggett. So our Daggett feeder 1 circuit, we wanted industrial 1. So the guys, when you kind of, when you get into switching and things of our system, you kind of identify what feeders go where and how you identify them is by the number. So we did run Daggett feeder 1, which is down East Wilson Street. We did build a pole line there too on the south side of East Wilson and pulled in new cable. There's quite a few poles there for that circuit. Our feeder 2, that actually runs towards County Road C and comes around County Road C back into Bryan on Union Street. That was our Daggett 2 feeder. Our Daggett 3 feeder runs kind of north, goes up to Bona Vista, and now that's our industrial 3 feeder. We did put out an industrial feeder 4, which was designated the feed for the industrial park. That way that feeder, we can have capacity on any new businesses coming into town. So we dedicated a feeder just for the industrial park in case, you know, you did get a big load out there. The future feeder was the feeder 5, industrial 5, which we set aside for the JV2. The JV2 generation, if we wanted to generate onto a feeder, we'd have that 500 amp capacity to generate right on one feeder. So we have that one there that maybe someday, once we get the feeder 2 by Titan Tire built, we will probably extend that feeder 5 out to the JV2s just to pick up that generation load that them put out there. Moving on, we did install a new primary service to Dollar General. That was 112 kVA. And we did have immense time and planning for AMI and coordination of AMI. That was one thing that we're getting into right now, you know, with Lori and everybody, you know, so we're on the verge of getting ready to get employee AMI, and we're finally getting some leaders in, so that's a good thing. I just want to mention that. Slaughter Investments out in the industrial park, they added a new 225 kVA transformer to their west building there. That was put in. We did an underground to overhead conversion project on Bruce Drive, which was a piggyback on with the communications department because they had to relocate some facilities due to a road storm sewer, I believe it was, extension. So we piggybacked on them for quite a good price to get our utility overhead single phase underground. So that's one of the reasons we benefited from putting that underground was that on Bruce Drive. And I did want to mention that the South Union Mobile Home Park is updating their services, and they've been installing these 2 gang meter sets, as you can see there on my picture, and I believe they've installed 4 of them, and they plan on doing the rest. I'm not saying soon this year, but in the future they have plans to upgrade them. We built a temporary 34.5 bypass line around Titan Tire Sub. This was to, as you know, keep our generation intact and have the 34.5 to 69 transformer at Daggett, so we can generate to there, and then it will generate out onto our 69 loop. So we had to build a bypass around Titan Tire when we upgraded them to the 69. And also we built the 69 feet from Industrial Park to Titan Tire Sub for their new transformers that we put in there. A couple of the pictures here are at Titan Tire Sub and having our guys string wire over the ditch and pull wire through the creek and stuff was challenging a little bit, but they managed. But that's a couple pictures I wanted to include there. And then the 100 block of East Edgerton Street down here at the beginning, we installed a overhead bank to a business that it's not a really established business yet, but we wanted to provide 3-phase service to them. So we installed an overhead bank and we dropped some secondary into a meter set. Along with the pole line, as I mentioned, on East Wilson Street, we had some underground projects that went along with that on Palmer Lane in East Wilson. That was an underground 3-phase that we had bored from our new line over to existing junction point to feed 3-phase in parts of the East Village subdivision. And that line was, I think, put in about 15 years ago that we tied that line into. So that was done. And then we completed there on East Wilson at Ditch 40 a new 3-phase secondary feed to a lift station, and also provided a single-phase feed to other parts of East Village subdivision. Let's see, there's a new three-phase service put into Yangfang to an existing 500 kVA pad mount that we had installed. The 600 block of East South Street was another, we extended some single-phase primary and terminated. Crew replaced about 3 poles, I believe, out of West Fountainbrook Drive by the field house, Bryan Field House. And we upgraded some underground secondary in the 100 block at East High. We did that by excavating some gray conduit, stick conduit to 3-meter base locations in that downtown area down there. We assisted the water treatment plant in burying some 6-inch conduit for their backup generation feeder, or generator. And we placed an order through Sourcewell contract to replace our 2001 digger derrick truck with a 2013 Terex. We also provided a single-phase service for Bigby Coffee on South Main and East South Street. These projects here, I call them notable projects. There's projects that we have worked with other departments on, not just BMU departments, but also city departments. And I kind of like to, I don't know, just kind of spotlight or highlight some of them projects, that we do work together as the city of Bryan, and we do help each other from time to time. They're not all that, but some of them I threw in there. One of them was we installed some poles out for the Chamber of Commerce billboard out on US 6. I believe Northwest Electric provided the poles, and we dug them and installed them. And I believe the Chamber of Commerce is going to put a billboard out. I've got a picture there on the bottom of that location. On Winsler Drive, we replaced some fixtures again. I think there was 11 of them that we had a manufacturer defect. I don't know, you may or may not have saw the blue lights or velvet lights that cause these fixtures to project some type of blue light. It was kind of a bad part, so we got new fixtures in, and we had to replace them again. So they're good, and we got new warranty from the time they were installed. The water treatment plant generator, as I talked about, replacing or helping install the conduit. We also were involved in the planning and coordination of that. And we've worked, I know Adam and I have worked on it since 2007 with different electricians trying to get that, because I knew one day that the 4 kV was going to leave, and that was their backup. So that was one thing we wanted to stay on top of, and we finally got that done. And it's coming to light that we're going to have a good backup for the water treatment plant here in Bryan. And the power plant upgrades, the planning and coordination, working with Jim and Tim and Adam and I, with Spectrum Engineering, coming up with ideas and things for that was a project that I wanted to know. The rec park light fixture replacement there on Mayberry Drive and Newdale Drive. These lights were bought and purchased with through the parks, and then we installed them for them. So that was a project that we kind of did jointly with them. The city terrace tree removals that we do every year with the street department, we've continued to do them last year. And of course, the Christmas light installation removal on the courthouse, is something we do every year. Tree trimming, we had to Asplin Tree Service again in 2021 do our distribution and Marcus corridor trimming. I did include a couple shots of that corridor, and some of the reasons why we trim and try to trim back is there, as you can see, you know, our line is kind of where the tree cutoff is there. But we have dead trees that can fall like from way in back and actually scrape the line. So it kind of is good to get them back as far as we can to get, so if they do fall, they aren't going to touch the line. That was an instance where we had one touch it and didn't cause an operation. I saw the burn marks on the limbs, so it was kind of a, you know, a little nervous about that. And then the street department also does some corridor mowing for us. Once or twice a year, we have them go down with their mower and they mow the whole corridor, and it keeps it nice and trim, keeps the weeds down and stuff for access. And also the water department replaced I think it was a 30 or 36 inch tile there just south of Ney at Balmer Road. And we did some pole replacements in the southwest quarter of town last year. And we also every year provide a temporary electric service for the Tree Lions Club. Our line crew and electric department's employees, we attend the monthly AMP and quarterly AMP training every month. And we hang banners in the rec park and on the courthouse square from time to time. And we're also involved in installing a fiber ring for Joe, helping his department get a new fiber from, I believe, the head end all the way out to Lawrence Substation. And, well, it's actually the whole 96 ring we helped them install last year. That was a pretty good project. And, of course, our Bryan Jubilee temporary services that we do every year, and the day in the park. I did put on here circuit patrol. We do a little of this. This just shows that, you know, we want to keep up on our system maintenance, I guess, looking for any porcelain or glass dead-end bells, and also any squirrel proofing that may need done. Did include a picture of what a service of ours would look like, squirrel proof. As you can see, the red bushing cover on top of the transformer, and the coated wire that goes from there over to the cutout is coated, so if anything touches that and goes to ground or shorts out, it doesn't cause an outage or you know, cause something to go bad and burn up. So that's kind of what I mean when we squirrel proof. We try to do that in different areas of town to help with our outages. Our Oktoberfest temporary service is something that we do every year. We install the temporary for that community, I won't say community thing. And then the Wesley Church bell towers, we assist with doing the maintenance on them every year. We did some tree cutting in the rec park, and we do weed control around doing these properties here. Last year we did provide mutual aid to a couple communities in Michigan, and I believe Hillsdale, we were up there twice for storms that they had. And the Titan Tire contracted tree cutting also, along with our installation of our 69 over from the wastewater treatment plant side across the ditch, and our 34.5 bypass line was also in that area, so we had to clear cut most of that ditch to provide, get the trees out of there to provide a clean installation for what we've done. Street light replacements, I think we had a few of them in Deerfield, and we did install a new entrance light as the board approved at Union Place Drive. The department ordered a MetroTech locator and fault locator. We purchased that. Sumter Field, we helped the parks install some poles and for backstop. And we coated the electric department roof this year. It's 22 years old, so we did coat the office out back, showing a little bit of wear, so we had it coated. And we installed conduits on Parkview Avenue and Belmont Avenue as part of a city street improvement project. The Belmont project's done. The Parkview project, we had the poles installed and all the conduits are in. I just want to let people know that to be patient with us. We have water in the conduits and they're frozen solid, so if anybody's out there that cares, we will get to it, but we are a little bit held back by that, so we're just waiting for the thaw. Let's see. We helped the power plant install a cofferdam, and we typically help the water treatment plant install and remove motors off their aerator. And we did do meter testing this year of our top 50 customers. Finally, just to note some of the 2022 projects, the Deerfield Underground project, we'd like to replace the underground primary and secondary out there by directional means of directional boring. The Carson Drive is another 40-plus-year-old underground subdivision that we would like to replace some cable there. And we're also working with the city on the city parking lot behind the 100 block of South Main and doing some lighting there. The 69 kV build project, materials only. This is to build a 69 pole line from the power plant to Edgerton Street. We wanted to get all the materials secured this year, and we'll have a window next year to generate, where we don't have to generate, where we can take out the 34.5 from the plant to Baker and install our 69 up through there. So that's why we're buying materials this year and plan on doing the construction this next year. And the 69 switching project is the 3 switches that'll go up on the 69 up by Edgerton Street up here to provide isolation of that. Other than that, I'd like to thank the department, crews, for all their hard work and dedication. I also like to thank all the other departments here at BMU and the management here, and all the city employees that support the success that we have in serving the community. I know it's a kind of a team-oriented thing here to provide what we do for the city and make it successful. So I just wanted to mention that. Anything else or questions?
Has there been any talk about the 100 block of North Main Street? It seems like that's the last area that hasn't been
Yeah, 100 block of North Main are the old Moldcast lighting. We had plans on putting that in there, but it's around that $50,000 mark.
Oh, okay.
To do that. We want to get into that here in the next couple of years. It would be the same as we did on the South Main side, where we would utilize the existing piers and just replace the poles and the LED lighting. So
That's about the last spot, I think.
that's the last spot. We do have a little spot on Butler, East Butler. There's like maybe a few, 2 or 3 poles in there that we may put up, and then the downtown area is done with
Should be done.
Yeah,
Thanks.
which would be a good accomplishment for
It's been my project.
many years as we've been working up there. Bless you. Anything else?
Thanks, Al.
Thank you.
We'll start off first with what we do the most of and have the biggest impact on is our peak shaving. The capacity peak shaving is at 673,000, and you can see the hydros at 44 and 19, and the total 737. That's a little lower than probably what you're used to in the past. Capacity costs this year were around $5-6. Next year they go back up to the $11 range, so that'll change that whole thing. But because of the lower capacity charges this year, the savings weren't quite as high. But we hit them all. Also on the transmission part, once again, that may look a little bigger than it has been. Since 2014 till today, transmission costs are double. And they're scheduled to keep going up and up. With a lot of the green initiatives pushing towards electric, the transmission costs are going up because in order to build the grid up, that's the transmission portion. So that's why the costs are constantly rising there. It happened on August 24th. I thought it was going to June 29th would hold out because that was, it usually happens when everybody up here is not used to the heat. And then when they get used to the heat, they don't use their air conditioners months. But the 24th at 5 p.m. was definitely, and I appreciate everything that the city and all the residents that did here in the industrial, because it is a real critical thing that if the industries can shut off equipment during that time, it not only saves us, it saves them. So it lowers their cost along with that, because as everybody knows, you get charged by whatever peak you hit. The trouble with the 1CP is compared to the transmission cost, you get 5 shots, and it gets all averaged, you get 1. You either hit it or you don't. For instance, just last, was it January 27th, Wednesday, when it was really cold, and this is kind of what I'll talk about with the new controls. The temperature of the oil on GT2 was 2 degrees below what it needed to do to start. Well, it took AJ and Brett just a few minutes to find that, and we was able to help them figure out how to bypass that. In the old system, we would have never found it. And then we would have had to wait there for the oil to heat up that 2 degrees to start. So they were able to bring that up and be live with all the generation in time, because it only took us 15 minutes to find it. So with both those savings, we're anticipating a 4.5 in the coming year. As you remember though, transmission is from January to December, and capacity is June 1 to May 31st. So those savings kind of juggle around there a little bit in the old spreadsheets. The hydro plant ran very well. It was 371,000. The RECs that we sold for 88,000, a portion of those came from 2020, but we received the money in February of 2021. So about 33,000 came from RECs that were in 2020, but we really received the money in February of 2021, and then the rest of it came in around August or September, somewhere in that time frame. And the same way with the solar RECs. A portion of that was from 2020, but we received the money this year. So that's why I showed you the savings that we would receive in this calendar year. There's the generation from 2016 all the way through for Auglays, just so that you get kind of a view of what it is. We haven't had a water year like 2019 in the last couple. I don't know what it is. It gets to about that couple months and then it just like nothing comes. But in 2019 was really good. We've had a little bit better February. While everybody was staying home for the snow, we ran everything at the Auglays. I was making trips back and forth because the guys couldn't get there, but we managed to keep it running. So, and then we're running right now everything again because of the melt. For the completed projects, the power upgrade for the 34.5, we know that one of the Titan tires was our last external customer. So there's a couple of pictures of some of the stuff before, and then what we started changing along with that. I think I got a couple other pictures there. And there's part of Al's group over there working the morning that we made the switch. I can't thank Al and Adam enough for all the help they do when it comes to getting up in the air and helping me with anything that needs a crane. Great job from them in helping us getting all that stuff. And if you see on the right, I believe that was Brad out there. Kent didn't have a crane high enough to hold those structures up. So we got a digger derrick out there and kept them on schedule so we could get it done. When we did Industrial Park, we upgraded the RTU because, of course, the old Scouts, they don't make anymore. So we went to Schweiters, which are really called RTACs. They're kind of a PLC-based reporting unit. The thing came completely unprogrammed. Tom and Kevin sat out there with the books, figured out how to bring the software into it, and then built the SCADA screen themselves. So now as we upgrade the RTUs in each substation, I have 2 guys that can do it. I'm very proud of them guys. So and it looks great. From the powerhouse, we also changed the G2 filters, the ones at the top. Every two to 3 years, there's a $2,000 or $3,000 bill to change those. The ones at the bottom are metal, and they cost us about $4,000 and some change, but we can just wash them off. So when they get dirty or blanked over, something like that, and with the water line that we're going to have out there, we can just pull them out, power wash them, and put them right back in, and they'll do just fine. Because all we need to do is keep the big junk out of the generator. We don't need to have it filtered like a furnace or something like that. The GT1 controls was completely finished in the spring here, so that's good. And underneath that yellow cover there of the green machine, which is the GE gearbox shaft, we actually had a new shaft made because the one that had twisted was actually warped, and it was causing us some real issues. So we have a new one made, and once again, power plant people changed it out, so it was a $20,000 savings just from labor. Other completed projects: Normator, generator, gas supply equipment. When we had some issues with getting the Nuremberg out of the switchgear and back in, the switchgear didn't go back in. We had to take it apart and lubricate it and do a bunch of stuff of it. But overnight, we found out that with the power not on that section of the power plant, it turned all the gas and the Nuremberg controls off also. So we changed that so that it was on our backup power, so it would never be without power that way. So that was a great find during a time when we didn't think we were going to find something to improve on. The bottom of the Nuremberg stack was rusting out, so we kind of cleaned it all out and then put a concrete base in it to reinforce the bottom of it so that it wouldn't collapse someday and prevent that. GT1 black start. The cooling jacket was starting to leak on top, so we tore the manifold off, and the guys, once again, AJ was in part of that, rebuilt the whole top part of that black start, so we didn't have to get anybody in here to take care of that. And then we also got rid of a lot of scrap out at Lawrence, so I just wanted that substation cleaned up, and it was $10,000 worth of scrap steel sitting out there. So there's no reason for $10,000 to be laying on the stone. We can use that. The Auglaize plant, the headgate repair, which Al alluded to about helping us was put the coffers in. If you don't understand what that is, they're about 8 inches wide and about 8 foot wide, about 8 inches thick, and they're about 25 foot tall. And in the past, they've used a Broderson, and I'm like, this is not the machine for it. So we asked Al and Adam to bring us a digger derrick, so they sent down an operator to help us put them in, and they just slid right in. It was really slick. So they helped us, and that stops the water on the outside, and then we were able to raise that head gate and weld a new skin on the outside of it because it had just deteriorated all through. The shaft, Harry Rilling came by and helped us understand how to set the thrust on that so that we could make sure the shaft was plumb, because we just have trouble with number 3 quite a bit, and we were just trying different things. So that was a great training for all those, and then we also got the roof repaired over the maintenance section so that it wouldn't leak down below. Things that are coming up, so Nate brought up about the solar fields, so that's going to be ours, which is going to be a great savings in the near future, as it'll keep producing, but we won't have the lease payment anymore, and the savings that he negotiated through the and then with the 34.5 upgrade for the sub-major equipment, the last time they looked at it was in July, and they had 15% built into that. And then I had them make sure they did it again here in February, and it's went up again already. And so that's why we was like, we need to start moving on this and get the equipment. If we don't get enough equipment in time to actually build it, at least we need to accumulate the equipment before we keep getting cost increases. Until we get what we have, and then we can start building out there. Also, we want to look at getting the engineering portion done for that 4K so that we're ready for phase 2 whenever that happens. And then we're continuing, like I brought up, about SCADA upgrades on the Select, which is the Schweitzer RTAC systems. Curtin communications fails every day, multiple times. So we don't get to talk to that one very time because the RTU is just getting old and worn out, and it fails in communication. We're also looking at the head gates and intakes and security improvements down at the hydro plant. I'm usually a pretty quick talker, and my hands flop around, so if you have any questions on what I did, I'm more than happy to talk about them.
You did good, Jim.
Yeah, you did do good. I just was curious, I don't even know if this is an issue in our little corner of the world here.
Sure.
But I wonder how, it seems like everything you read now, all electric vehicles are the big thing, and charging stations and things like that. And I don't know that it's such a big issue around here, although it probably will be someday. I understand Montpelier's looking into installing some charging stations, and they're on the turnpike and airport parking lots and stuff like that. Do they foresee any issues with that? I mean, as people buy more of these and start charging at home and using charging stations, do they foresee any problems with the
It's going to put a very much strain on the current transmission.
Yes.
Our transmission system in the United States is nowhere near what it needs to be to support that kind of infrastructure. I know that seems doom and gloom, and that's not popular, but that's just the fact of it, is we don't have, and that's why transmission costs are so high, and they're going to continue to go high because they want to build a grid that can support what may be in the future.
It sounds like it's coming. I've even heard where they talk about people if they have their electric vehicles charged, or plugged in to the system a certain period during the day, that they'll actually give them a reduced electric rate, and they can use the batteries in those vehicles as capacitors.
Yeah, I suppose with the right meter, just like with AMI, you'll know when the peak is happening and you'll shut that stuff off. I can see that happening even if in the future with people's air conditioners.
Yeah.
That you could be able to control through the meter reduced power to a residence home in order to save on the grid for that stuff. But yeah, anything that can happen after about 8, 9 o'clock at night, charging anything like an electric car is very advantageous. Running your dryer, running your stove, any lights, any TVs, any of that stuff that you can do after 6, 7 p.m. just helps the electrical grid dramatically.
I think at some point in the not too distant future, we're going to have to look into this charging station.
And that's a real possibility. Once again, that may change how our grid structure becomes.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Anything else?
Thanks, Jim.
Jim, thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is to affect semi-monthly disbursements. Can I have a motion to pay the bills, please?
So moved.
I'll second.
Dick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Tom?
Yeah.
Comments from BPA and staff?
I did a lot of talking already, but what they just went through, I just want to appreciate everything that they do, the superintendents, all the employees, everybody here for, the board for helping us do these things. It was, it's amazing what we've accomplished when you sit there and you go through it. That's just the electric department. They've done some great things and a lot of things that people don't see. And so I think it's important for people to see even the little things that we do, the little things that we do for the parks, the little things that we do for putting the lighting up. All of those things are very important to our community and us giving back. So I just want to thank everyone, basically our whole team for everything that they do. It doesn't go unnoticed, so thank you guys.
Well done on your presentations this evening. You as well. I don't sign the POs for BMU side. It's nice though in the review that I have already figured out what's gone on just being in the community. So it's always my quiz to myself if I paid enough attention, and I didn't get all of your projects, but I knew a lot of yours. I appreciate the collaboration between BMU, city, and community. I think everybody does a really good job, and when push comes to shove, we all carry the bags and water for each other. So thank you. Hope that continues.
Brenda?
Lori?
No, sir.
Mr. Betts? Any of the superintendents have anything else they want to add? Okay.
I didn't get to say this, but I just want to thank the board for supporting us. I appreciate that very much, because without you guys allowing us to do this stuff, we wouldn't get a chance to do it. And I find it fun, so.
Okay, thank you. Jackie? Tom?
Well, just, again, thanks to Nate and Al and Jim for the presentation. It's very informative. And piggybacking on what our mayor said about the cooperation between BMU and the other city departments, it just seems like every year it's more and more cooperation. It's good to see. Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate all the time you guys have taken over the years to gain the knowledge you have to make the system operate so economically and to keep it maintained in good shape. So you guys are doing a good job. I'm impressed with your abilities. And thank you for your presentation tonight too. Very good job. Thank you.
I'd just like to say thanks to all the superintendents, the employees. You guys do a fantastic job. You make my job way easier than it needs to be. But I might sound a little biased because I came from the utility, but I'm awful proud of everybody. I love watching you guys work together. I'd probably do anything to come back to work, be part of that. But now I'm going fishing. But I really appreciate everything and the coordination and the camaraderie that I see, and you guys are going to be hard to replace, all of you. That's going to be tough. But keep on keeping on, and we got your back. So I appreciate everything you do. That's all I got. Annette.
Great presentation. I know it takes a lot of work to do that. And it is great to see the departments all work together and get along in cooperation, the spirit of cooperation and everything like that. And again, wouldn't be able to keep up with everything that you have to do without the approval of the board. So again, great job. So yeah, thank you.
In case nobody said, a great presentation. Touching on what Dick and Nate said a little bit, I think a lot of people don't realize when they see the crews out working, like at the power plant, the guys that jump in and work on the turbines and stuff rather than hiring contractors and mechanics to come in and do the work. And when they see the trucks out working, it's not just maintenance, it's what they're doing is helping to keep our costs down and work with other departments to keep their costs down and working together. It's a good thing. And yeah, Dick's right, we do have a great group of employees. That's all I have. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Dick?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Thank you.